Let's bring our palms together at our heart and eyes gently closed. And take just a notice. So take notice of your breath moving in and out through your nostrils. And then take notice of your hips and your legs. And take notice of your spine and the crown of your head. And take notice of your heartbeat. As you take your next inhalation, feel your heart, feel your body, feel your mind, feel your energy, feel your soul, and take a big breath out. Do that one more time. Breathe in to your whole self, and then breathe out. Release your hands down and open up your eyes. And welcome to another episode of Astro Yoga Chat. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, so welcome back. I'm Natalie.
I'm Kate. Oh yeah, I forgot. I normally say, hi, I'm Kate. Hi, I'm Natalie. It's a new year, new us. We could switch things up if we want.
And Mercury is actually stationary, which means he's standing still at this point. He just turned direct a few hours ago. So the feeling of it is still like it's retrograde, and it has still 2 more weeks in his post shadow. So things can be still a little bit messed up. And actually, we're talking about the 10th house today. We're still in the series of the astrological houses. And it's the house of your career, your purpose. And we thought we'll just talk a little bit about the career of teaching yoga, because always, when we start this, we chat a little bit before, and we had some, interesting experiences about teaching on the 1st of January.
So, okay, I've been teaching yoga for 14 years. Okay, so I've been a yoga teacher now for 14 years. And teaching yoga is a privilege. It's a privilege. It's an absolute blessing. It takes a lot of energy to teach yoga. And it's not just because of the physicality of yoga, of like, oh, you got to show the postures or you have to show that. No, it's this isn't just about postures. This is about your mental awareness, your cleaning of the mind, your connection to your heart, your believing in your soul and of the divine. Like, how do we get us human, like we're having a human existence here, right? So how do we remind us all that we're spiritual beings living in a materialistic world? So when you think about it, when you're a yoga instructor, you're trying to pull people out of the material into more of the spiritual. And not every day do we feel as yoga teachers are we at that level of like we've got the energy and we've got the grace and we've got the flow of moving with the divine. That doesn't happen every single day, but we still have to teach every single day. How was your New Year's Day experience, Natalie?
Well, I mean, I don't party long, so I was in bed at 1 a.m. and my class, I didn't have to be there until 1, but we put up a very special event, which was yin yoga with a live piano player. So a pianist was there. And I've done it before a few times, and usually we had like 30, 35 people. And of course, like when there's a few people, teaching or playing music, the cut is not very big. So it has to be, quite a big group of people for it to pay off. And this year it was not. So it was nice because the music was nice, and you try to stay in the moment and make it a nice experience for whoever showed up. but in the end, for me, it was a lesson. I mean, I'm not gonna teach on the 1st of January anymore. Yeah, so definitely not an event, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, yes, we pull them out of the physical, but honestly, we're dealing with the physical, and people have stuff going on in their bodies. We have stuff going on. I mean, I taught years and years where I could not even sit, because my knee was so badly injured. And it's mainly for me, it's a job that teaches me compassion,
Mm,
like seeing how people move in their bodies and what is possible, not possible, and dealing with my ups and downs with my strength, because, as you said, it takes a lot of energy. It's like pulling a group of people energetically, and they should have a good time, and they
right.
should be safe, and I should bring a block, a strap, whatever they need, a bolster. Oh, she's pregnant, she needs this and he needs that, and whatever show like this. And while I'm talking, I'm preparing the next steps in my head. Are we turning this direction or this? So it takes a lot.
Yeah. No, it takes a lot. And, you know, it's not, I think that it looks really beautiful and easy, I think, from like the student's perspective of the teacher, how like the teacher just everything flows together. But it's like behind the curtains of what really happens. That's why I love teaching teacher trainings, right? Because like the class itself, it's so I have a very good friend who is a great yoga instructor, and he would always say things like the show must go on, like it doesn't matter what is going to happen, the show must go on, you cannot stop, you just keep going. And it's so true, because sometimes you're teaching and things are happening all around you, or things are happening within you, and you're just like, what is happening, but you just have to keep going. Like, so in the teacher trainings that I teach, this is an opportunity to pull back that curtain and to say, okay, how do we handle our stuff when the stuff is coming up, or when the disappointment of not having enough people, or the feeling within your own body of being absolutely exhausted, or, I mean, on New Year's, I didn't expect it at all, but on New Year's, I partied, and I haven't partied like I, it's just like not part of my daily thing. It's not part of my weekly, monthly thing. But I just really enjoyed going into 2024. And so the next morning when I got up to teach, I was with that same energy going into teaching for 2024. And I had to like brace myself. And even though I'm teaching online, everyone's don't, this is not a separation. Like, you're right there and your energy is being felt. And I had to like keep them uplifted. Meanwhile, I couldn't even like sit down. I'm like holding myself back, like closing my eyes, drinking water, like, I'm dying. Yeah, so no more for me either. January 1st is a negative, not gonna happening next
Oh,
year.
yeah, I've been teaching now for 12 years. And what I discovered, what works for me is like being very honest. Like, there were times I was so sick and I'm like, guys, I'm so sick, but there is no sub. So when I need to run out, and I just can't anymore, please keep on doing sun salutations, or, you make a joke out of it. You stay in plank pose until I return, and hopefully I will, or whatever, or like, I hurt my knee, I can't do this, but look out for your own knees, whatever. So, I really try to be very honest, but sometimes like things happen so fast. I had food poisoning once, and I broke out in a sweat, and I was just looking at this clock, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it, for the next 2 minutes. And thank God it was so late in class. I just had to put them into Shavasana, a very early Shavasana, and then I was out of the room, and I just made it back in time to wake them up. But things are happening, or all of a sudden there is no light anymore, or no sound, no music. Okay, we have no music, whatever. I mean, those are the little things, like horrible things are if somebody really gets injured in class. And
Yeah.
I had that. A student of mine fell over a block and
Oh,
broke his foot. So,
yeah.
I mean, these are horrible things.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and you know, we're laughing. I mean, we're laughing about it. We're trying to share some like, you know, some humor and some realness about it because sometimes when you, like I said, when you look at your yoga instructor and you think that everything is just that they have it all together or that everything is just like, oh my gosh, how did they just put this perfect flow? So much work and energy goes into it, you know. When you do have a yoga career, you know, most likely you will be teaching when everyone else is available to practice, meaning really early in the morning. So I still have 6 a.m. classes. Why? Because I got my morning warriors who are ready to roll before they have to go into the office and kick ass. So they're ready to practice. Or you teach towards more the end of the day. So, you know, it's you don't have that traditional, let's say 9 to 5 kind of life. And you don't have that kind of traditional life in any kind of way, right? So like when you're a yoga instructor, you're always practicing yoga. Always practicing. Which is why I love being a yoga instructor, because this is like a beautiful practice for the growth of my own evolution and my own soul. So I'm always constantly practicing. And so it's, yeah, having a yoga career is not easy. Uh,
Yes, I also have like, many days where I have to get up at 5. And then, what is hard is once you have those, but then you have very late and then very early. And this year, the schedule is very hard, like Sunday mornings very early, and the last 2 classes of Sunday. So Sunday does not exist for me. And
mhm,
therefore, Saturday evening also does not exist for me. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. And there's so many other things, like I'm somebody who always prepares class, and I look like what we did the past few times, so that people, when they always come that day, they always get like something different. And I work like, we did external, this time is neutral, we did like more forward bends, then we do more back bends, that there is like a variety to it. But then you prepare sequences and you look at the class, and there's like a few pregnant people, a few injured people, some people that are elderly, whatever, I mean, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll do something totally different today.
Yep.
And
Yep.
sometimes it's also with me. I prepare something. I'm like, I'm not in the mood for this. I want to do something else.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's a, I mean, obviously, with every single career, there's a lot of work in order to build your career. It's a different story of like, oh, I teach yoga because some people might just teach yoga like one class a week, and this is like kind of something that they love to do. Fantastic, you know. When you're building a career out of something, then you are putting much more energy into it to grow it, you know, and so it's it's a selfless, selfish service, selfless because you're serving people to find their connection to the divine, to you're helping people find the connection to their own physical self, own mental self, which is very important. But it's selfless, but it's selfish because this is my job, I have to do it for myself as well. I have to continuously do it for myself.
I would also say, like when I started out, I was like, oh, one day I want to have my own studio, whatever. At this point, I'm like, no, I'm definitely not going to do that. And I think for me, yoga will be something for in between other things I'll do, because it just does not make any money. I mean, the money you make in yoga is so little from teaching classes. You have to have other sources of income.
Yeah.
So also for myself, like, I'm 45 now. I cannot imagine that I'm teaching those schedules in 10 years, because like 12 years later, this is already getting hard
Yeah.
physically. And I'm not a teacher who does a lot. I'm a teacher who's a lot there standing and just giving verbal cues, because that's how my teacher training was. But still, the stuff I have to do, that gets a lot, every
Yeah.
day. So, yeah, it's interesting, you know, maybe you have an older clientele later on when you're an older yoga teacher and you teach different things. But, you know, if you're still at that age where you teach the very young kids and the 20-year-olds that need a very hard workout, and you're like, I'm not practicing that anymore for myself. That's not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
Gets a little weird.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So can we just go back really quick to the 10th house about, you also said that the 10th house is part of like authority and bosses and, um, like, like, is that because like whenever we think about authority and bosses, obviously it's linked to career because your career also there's regardless, I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself, but I also have bosses in different ways. Like I have clients who then is my they're like my client. I have to service them. But um I don't know. Can you talk a little bit more about the 10th house? Like I don't know.
So the first point of the 10th house is the MC. So in Vedic, they don't use it that much. In some programs, it's still there, the medium curly. So it's the highest point in your chart. And that's the point where you're actually seen. But the 10th house, the natural ruler of it is Saturn. So that doesn't mean that Saturn will rule the 10th house for all of you. That means just in the natural zodiac, when we start with Aries, first house, Saturn would rule the 10th house. And Saturn is like elderly people or people with a higher status. It is bosses, authorities. It could even be in Western astrology, be like a father figure. So that's why we connect it also with bosses or authorities. Even like, you know, if you read the chart of a country, it would be the president, you know, like, or it can even be like governments, you know. And it's also a point of fame. So whatever is going through that, it's going to affect, you know, how your career goes. And
Mm.
funny story. I think we talked about this. You know, Uranus, the planet of change, is on my MC now. And I've waited all my life because astrologers said, you know, this could be a big break in your career. And, you know, Uranus, you know, whatever you expect it to be, it's definitely not going to be that. So nothing happened, you know, nothing at all. So, but you know, for me, very strongly, maybe not for other people, but each time Saturn is making a hard aspect to my career house, I have no job in my real career, which is actually acting, you know. But yeah, so um, people, you know, like usually when Jupiter has a transit through the 10th house, it's opening up possibilities and yeah, if Mars is going through it for 6 weeks, you know, you'll have a lot of stress, maybe, you know, a lot of work to do and stuff like this. So, yeah, you also have to see what rules the 10th house in your own chart. You know,
Yeah.
I'm Leo rising, so Venus rules my 10th house. Each time Venus gets affected in a way, it can change my career. So it's really interesting. Yeah, but it's where you are seen, you know, and where you can become an authority yourself.
Mm. This New Year's Day, when I taught my class, like sitting on the floor, holding on for dear life, it was a very different feeling as in the past. Like in the past, when I've worked at other jobs and other careers, and if I felt like I wasn't at my best or showing up to my best, I felt like I had to hide myself. And it's very interesting because when you said, I'm honest, like I'm open, I'm honest. So when I was teaching, I was honest with my people. Like these are my people who come to class all the time. Like they know me. So it's like, there's no reason to like, they know the minute that they hear my voice, if my voice sounds different, oh, what happened to Kate or what's going on? So I was really honest. And when I left that class, it definitely wasn't my best class. I said to everyone, I love you, I really love you. Thank you. And I had like this like tears coming down my face because I can show up as myself, like I'm not perfect and I don't ever say that I'm perfect. I don't, my whole thing in life is like I don't even know what perfect is, right? It's just keep going inch by inch, do the best that you can. You're shifting, you're evolving, you're changing. There's a lot of outside factors that have to do with what's going on in your life, hence why we're talking about astrology as well. So you just keep going. And for the first time in my 45 years of life and in my career, my first career of like this career, I was one completely like, it's okay. Like this is Kate, you do a really great job. So it's okay. Like you didn't teach a kick-ass first, you didn't teach such a kick-ass class. Well, you'll teach a kick-ass class again tomorrow, and yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. This is a good house. This is a good house to enter into the new year and to talk about.
Interesting. And for you, it's a little different because you have your group of people who take classes with you. I teach open classes. So, of course, there's a few returning students, but many people are new. I just see them once, twice, they change studios a lot, whatever. So, I
Yeah.
really don't know who people are. And in my teacher training, we also talked about this. I mean, growing as a yoga teacher is also growing as a person, right? Because you'll meet personalities that are very quiet. Then you see some of them very outgoing, all of a sudden talking in class, and I don't like this pose, I don't like this music. I'm like, or like, people putting you on spot, well, do this advanced asana. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not warmed up. So it's like, all of a sudden you have to deal with a lot of things, and it's challenging, but it's also interesting. So yeah, it's or also how people perceive things. Sometimes I teach classes and they're flawless, and I'm like, did such a good job. I never said the wrong right and left, whatever. Don't get a feedback at all. And then you feel like, ugh, I really sucked. I did a few mistakes. I did not exactly the same thing on the right and the left side, and I messed up and I was not so good. And all of a sudden, somebody comes like, your class is the highlight of my week. And I'm like, it's like, then it's really touching and it's so humbling. And I'm like, I was not even good. So.
And yeah, I understand that feeling completely. Yeah.
So it's as we always say, yoga is teaching us or helping us to grow in life. Teaching yoga exactly does the same thing for us too. Every day I step out of this class, I taught, I'm like, whew, first of all, God, thank you so much that you carried me through this class and I was able to do it. And there's always something that I learn.
Yeah. Always. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful, just reminder of being present in your life, being present in your life, living your life, right? Because, like you said, you've got your script that you thought you were going to say, you think it's going to happen this way, and it doesn't. So, being present in your life and, living it, living it. I think for our homework, we got homework. Okay. So this is the new year. So I think the homework should be is to look within and, look within and look for your purpose. Because sometimes, we think of like, okay, well, this is my career and this has to be my purpose. No, like you hear Natalie, like teaching yoga is not going to be her career. Like, it's not like her, it's not you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Natalie, but like describe purpose versus career with teaching yoga and acting.
You know what? I heard something once that your purpose in life is to go through every moment, and every moment is your purpose of living it fully. So that's why I would say that's my purpose. Like I always felt my purpose was to be creative, but I can be creative as an actress, as a writer. I can be creative as a yoga teacher. I just would put it in different categories, what I financially can live on or not.
I love it.
But apparently God put me in this place, and for some years I'm teaching a lot, a lot, a lot. Some years I don't teach so much, but apparently it is one of my purposes to do this.
Yep.
So
Yep. So let's think about what our purpose. And keep in mind of what Natalie just said, how like there's different avenues of how you can express that purpose. It's not like, oh, one thing. It's like, what's your purpose? And then look at the different avenues of how you can express that. And if
And
you're
also when something goes through your career house and the career changes, and we changes as people, we don't like it so much. Change is always a little bit difficult, but very often in the end they turn out to be blessings, because the universe is redirecting you. Your purpose is more towards that. Maybe you were just too comfortable doing the same job and it's time to shift. So it has to do with trust. If something doesn't work out and a door is closing, maybe a little later on down the road another one will open. So
I love it. Bring your palms together at your heart. I would love to just keep that in my energy field in my heart right now. And take a very big cleansing breath in and breathe slowly out. Release your hands down and open up your eyes. Thanks for being here. Bye, everyone.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.